Hi, my name is Nathan, and today we are at Chennai with one of our next guest, an expert from leasing and advisory, me. We have with us Ms. Vauhini Daras, who is working with SAVILLS as a senior executive, taking care of leasing, advisory, and transactions. Thank you so much for joining us today and welcome to the talk.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So I would, probably, ask you take us through your journey from where you started and currently where you are, so that our audience understand, if they have to get into the real estate and construction sector, what is that it takes, what are those skills, and what is the struggle or effort which is required in this direction.
Okay, well, so my journey into real estate happened entirely by chance, not by design. I did not grow up thinking that someday I'll be reading lease agreements and measuring or looking at efficiency and floor plates, but that's what it is. And I'm extremely glad that I chose this path back in the day when the opportunity came. I joined the industry primarily because it's been a long journey. Number one, it's been extremely rewarding for me from where I was to when I am today in terms of the real estate cycle that I've seen. I've been fortunate enough to see real estate is cyclical, so I've been fortunate enough to see the ups and the downs. Right, it's not always happy, smiley, and bright. There are also certain points where you really have to be patient. You have to be persistent, wait it out. All of those happen within. That's also probably applicable to many other industries. As far as my journey is concerned, it started, close to about a little under 2 decades ago when the opportunity came. I was not entirely sure because real estate was not very structured back then. The industry was not necessarily, it was not as professional as it is today. It was fairly unstructured, unorganized. Well, look where it is today, right? Today, the industry is globalized, it's institutionalized, and it's grown by leaps and bounds, right? Today, you can make a career in real estate. Today, you can, if you put in the time, effort, and be persistent, work on it continuously, ensure that you're always learning, you can definitely make a long-term career out of it. So, it's been a little under 2 decades, and it's definitely been a very rewarding journey for me. I started off as an analyst back in the day, doing a lot of grunt work, legwork, supporting senior colleagues with a lot of documentation, handling the database, and I did that for quite a few years. What that did for me was probably help me build a very strong foundation, which I may have not, had the experience of getting had I joined somewhere midway or at a senior level. And I think that plays a big role in how I've shaped how it has worked out for me over the years, right? I'm extremely grateful for all of the opportunities that came by. I stepped out of my comfort zone many a time because I think that makes a difference when you actually actively and proactively identify and see that those opportunities come your way and you embrace it, right? So the journey has been fairly long, to be honest, but it's been very rewarding. Like I said, the industry has grown leaps and bounds to where it is today compared to what it was back in the day.
Right. So why you brought out, you have been into, you've done a lot of legwork, the documentation part, supporting your seniors and colleagues. So that is something which every individual starts with generally, and that is something which is not widely liked. That's the kind of task that people see that this is a kind of a work which is thrown to us, not really liking that task. They would want to get out on the field, try and have client discussion, meetings, and so on. So what I see is coming out of a reflection from the experience that is something which might have given you all the knowledge, the background, and must have been a backbone for you to be able to get along when you stepped into the market and interacted with the clients.
Absolutely. I think I know what you're getting at. So one of the biggest challenges that young professionals face today is patience. Everybody wants everything to happen immediately. Everybody wants to close the $1 million deal. But it doesn't work that way, unfortunately, right? It takes time because our industry, the real estate sector, is completely people-centric and it's trust-based. Now, trust doesn't happen overnight. It takes time to build that trust. Trust happens when you build good, credible relationships, when you invest time in those relationships and ensure that those are genuine relationships that sort of take shape over a period of time. Secondly, it's extremely important to not focus on the transaction, which is, I think, another issue. It's more important to understand the bigger picture, invest in yourself in terms of understanding that a transaction, it's not about closure of the transaction, though, that's the end result in many cases. But invest time in understanding what tools are out there that can help you with this. What is your learning from this transaction? What do you need to do to get to the other side in terms of, ensuring there's a win-win situation? Embracing that digitalization of what it is to be. There's a lot of work that goes into, let's say, closing one transaction, right? There's paperwork, there is site visits, there's different facets of closing the entire transaction. You can't go from A to Z. You need to go through those baby steps one at a time, and you need to do it well, because that's the only way the clients will see that you're genuinely invested in the transaction.
Well, you something like, you're doing a job of an HR or a researcher and probably a strategist and probably presenting and a public speaker or presenting that to a client. So
Right.
a lot of balls that is juggling together at the same time.
So these are, you're absolutely right. That's all of it that we do on a daily basis. Handling a team is probably, it's, coming back to that, let me tell you this little thing. So when I went from being an individual part of a team, like an individual contributor, to managing my own team, it was like suddenly becoming a parent without a manual, right? It was like suddenly you don't know what to do. How do you manage, all of these people? But you learn with time, and what helps there is your experiences. If you don't have those experiences, how is it that you will manage a team like that, right? It's important to understand every team member is different. So, how you be with each team member also differs tremendously. Everybody has a different idea of where they want to be. Everyone's goals are different as well. Coming back to what you asked in terms of handling all of these things, all of these different aspects that you mentioned are handled and can be handled as you progress, right? You don't immediately, the moment you join, you're not given a team to handle, right? You have to learn how to first understand the industry. You need to invest in yourself. You need to be able to understand the whole gamut of, the services that are not just being provided, but also how to handle different people's emotions at different points in time, right? And yeah,
So your people management.
people management happens, and in our line of work, it's even more important because we don't just handle one set of people. We handle different kinds of people. We have the client expectations on one side, and then negotiations with landlords, and then you have investors on one side. We have internal stakeholders, and management that we need to handle. Again, so all of that comes with a certain degree of experience, I guess, that you sort of get over a period of
With
time.
that sense of experience, you get to become a mind reader at a certain time.
I wish. And let me tell you, that's not very easy to read in someone's mind, but reading the room is important in our line of work. It's important to read the room and understand what direction a particular conversation is headed in. A lot of times, it may not necessarily be just a negotiation. Imagine a client meeting or a pitch that you're making to a client. If you had a room full of people, gauging their interest levels is important. Knowing whether they're captivated and they're actually listening, and what is it that's actually getting their attention is important. If someone's disinterested, you need to get them back into the flow of the presentation. So you can't be oblivious to a room. So coming back to what you said, absolutely, I can't be a mind reader, but I think what's important is to be aware of your surroundings and be cognizant of people, their reactions, their emotions. That emotional quotient, I feel, is definitely important, and that's something I don't think any AI tool can generally, replace, so to speak. Why AI today can do so much, and it's a revolution in terms of analytics, design, documentation, valuation. But there's that human element that it can't be replaced.
So coming back from where you started as a female when you joined or when you entered in the sector compared to now, now, as you brought out, there have been a lot of changes. The industry has been growing. How has your experience been as a female individual, and how easy you see that it is for generation of today to get into the market and the sector and adopt it as a career of choice?
Okay, it's definitely changed leaps and bounds. The real estate sector today is probably nothing like what you would have seen 20 years ago, right? The explosion of the entire ITS industry in India has changed so many sectors and has definitely taken real estate to or rather the entire commercial advisory business in India to a different level. There weren't as many opportunities back in the day, to be very honest with you, and there weren't too many women in real estate back in the day either, because it was not the profession of choice. It was not even looked at as a profession. I recall my early days when I had joined the sector. My parents had a lot of doubts about whether this could be or become a career. And to be honest, I was not sure myself. I was in my early 20s. It happened, like I said, by chance. But I loved what I did. For me, no 2 days were the same. For me, the whole concept, idea of working with different people on different assignments, because it was still early on at that point in time and I wasn't really handling transactions. I was working with a lot of my colleagues in terms of supporting them with documentation, assisting with telecalling, so to speak, and a lot of other things. But it was very dynamic. Today, as I reflect upon that journey, I could very easily and very proudly tell you that I've loved the last 20 years of my life. I have absolutely no regrets, and I think coming back to young professionals, I think we need to sort of educate people out there that you can make a career in real estate, because today you have bodies like the RICS that are enabling that. See, RICS is not just having fancy credentials at the end of the day. It's an opportunity. It gives an opportunity to young professionals to get mentored, to have access to global data, to have access to global practices, and some very senior mentors who you may not otherwise have access to.
Right. That's what RICS Matrix is trying to bring out as a community, wherein we get senior professionals to support young professionals who are trying to or aspire to become a MRICS.
Right.
And one of this sessions give them opportunity of networking, meeting new people, probably meeting those senior professionals who they might not be able to meet in a normal course of business when they might be asking for an appointment.
Absolutely. That's one way to look at it. Another very important thing is, as young professionals, sometimes you don't have the opportunity also to be able to feel like you're in a safe place of a classroom and ask those questions. I think that is what comes across with the whole concept of matrix, in terms of how it gives you a safe place to learn to ask those questions, to be able to work with senior colleagues or people very senior in the industry one-on-one, learn from their experiences.
Right.
And that's not something, and that's priceless. You can't put a price to somebody else's golden experiences in terms of what they've gone through in life. No book is going to give you that sort of an education.
Right. That's what we are trying to capture through this video as well.
Right.
So coming back to the point wherein we were looking at your journey, can you bring out few transactions, few remarkable the experiences that you remember till now, which have given you a lot of learning in that context, which you might want to reflect upon, others can learn from them?
I won't talk about transactions. There have been far too many over the last X number of years, but there were certain defining moments that I still remember very vividly in my mind. One was, I think close to about 15 years ago, I was on a site visit. We had finished the visit, the client had left, and the building belonged to a very old gentleman who had come down after the visit. And then he looked around and said, "Who showed my building?" And then I said, "Sir, I showed, the client has left, but your team was there to help me." And he was very surprised. He said, are you from, are you from so and so company and running this transaction? And I said, yes. My client came, they finished and they left. He said, what are you doing in real estate? Why are you in real estate? How are you in real estate? Because he was shocked that a girl was in this business, and there was no point telling him anything else. But I just had a conversation. He was a very, very sweet old gentleman. Had a conversation with him and I left. But that was, I think, close to 15 years ago, and I still remember it so vividly because it shocked him that there was a girl in this industry, and I think that has stayed in my mind for all of these years. And what it has also done for me is be aware of the fact that it's not easy for women in general. Now, people usually say it's a very male dominated industry, but I don't entirely disagree with it. But I feel like the opportunities are there. If you can identify those opportunities, if you can embrace them, and if you can genuinely connect with the work that you do, put in the hard work, be consistent, be persistent, and build that credibility for yourself. It doesn't matter, if you're a man or a woman in the industry.
Agree. So I see that you are an MRICS as well.
Right.
So help us understand how did that happened, and what was the journey from a non-member to a member, and what changed after that?
So it was something that I had always wanted to do, but never found the time. Right? I mean, you're so busy doing 100 things in a day. You barely have any time to do the things that you're supposed to do, let alone take time out, apply for a course like this, prepare for it, do the prep work, get your documentation in, finish your interviews. So I think I procrastinated for many years, and then COVID happened.
Okay.
So that gave me the time and the opportunity to prepare for something like this. And I said, this is the time. It's now or never. If I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. And I think that was definitely another defining moment for me, where I went ahead, got this accreditation. It has changed a lot of things for me. It has not just work-wise, but from a perspective-wise as well, right? In terms of giving access, like I said, access to so many different facets of your global trends, global practices, and not necessarily always leasing related, because it's such a big body, right? And it encompasses so many different sectors. There's so much learning to do.
Right. And again, similar to the the benefits, attending the conferences, interacting with people, and getting to know what is actually happening in the market, which you might not get an access to.
Look, in our daily line of work, it's predominantly meetings, strategies, client servicing, and so on and so forth. You don't necessarily get to, unless you go out of your way to do that X number of hours of reading in a day, you won't really get that exposure in knowing what else is happening. But these networking events are extremely critical and important. What it also does, it helps build relationships. And like I said, coming back to the whole industry, real estate is very people-centric, very trust-based. Now, trust doesn't happen overnight. It takes time to build that trust. You have to build long-lasting, genuine relationships for that trust to work, to build that trust, and to be able to see it culminate into something fruitful. In fact, I would say that some of the most gratifying transactions, for me, gratifying feelings that I've had after closure of a transaction, those have not come from cold pitches or presentations or so on and so forth. Those have come from clients that I actually invested time in to build that long-lasting relationship. I still have clients today who I know from close to 15-20 years ago, who I still work with, and it's been extremely gratifying.
Sounds great. What is the 2-cent advice that you might want to give it to the professionals who are stepping in the sector, especially the next generation? So, what would you want to say to them?
First and foremost, be patient. Nothing happens overnight. Don't look for instant gratification. Take time out to learn. Always learn continuously. There's nobody in our industry or anywhere who knows everything. There's always something new to learn. And that's the only thing that will take you from place A to place B. If you want to level up, you have to always continuously invest in yourself, right? Knowledge is power. It's you can't always be tactful or street smart and get everything done. You have to have that knowledge to back a lot of the things that you say. That's our line of work. And the second thing is probably I think it's probably related to the first thing. One would probably be patient. Nothing happens overnight. And the second is invest in yourself always. Always continuously keep learning, ensuring that you are at the top of things. In our line of work, we meet clients from different industries, different sectors. Now, what that means is you need to also understand what they do. Now, some of it may be extremely technical. I may not necessarily, understand. But I take the effort to know. I take the effort to learn to be able to talk their language. I take the effort to understand what's happening in their firm or in their industry, and that's very important. Don't look at everything from a transactional nature, because if you have to build those long-lasting relationships, it has to come from within. You have to show genuine empathy.
Right.
You need to have those genuine relationships to invest that time and build it over a period of time, because clients can see that. They can see that you're just doing it for a transaction, or they'll know that you're genuinely, out there to, to ensure that, they're taken care of, or the business is taken care of, and it's a healthy relationship at the end of the day.
Right, there is a lot more to learn, and again, that's nothing actually can build overnight, or probably
no, it doesn't work like that, right?
Yeah. So a lot of investment needs to be get into there. So thank you so much for your time and all the insights that you brought out. And
my pleasure,
I'm sure this is something which will help everyone who is listening to be able to shape up their journey as and when there are to be able to reach where you are.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Pleasure being here.